Hello champions and future champions, hello ChessMood family. Gabuzyan is here with you and we're beginning our daily lesson. Today we have a specific topic. We will discuss importance of passed pawns in the Rook's Endgame. Passed pawns are not so important that in other ones. Now we have a situation when white has a passed pawn on a2 and there are no any pieces, so this is a pawn endgames. Let's imagine for a second that our kings are out of the game, so white will be easily able to advance the pawn. Let's go and see the next position. In the same conditions with passed pawn, now we added queens on the board, and our previous condition works. Kings are out of the game. With the help of a queen, passed pawn will easily be advanced. White can play queen to b3, queen a5, pawn a4, queen a6, queen b5, and with this technique, pushing the pawn and putting queen on the next supported square, we will advance till the last square and promote a queen. So we can see that in the queen's endgame, pawn itself can be advanced with the support of the queen. Let's go ahead and see bishop's endgame. We can see now that with support of the bishop against the other one, we are also advancing our pawn very easily. White can go bishop to b3, bishop d3, pawn a4, bishop e2, bishop d5. And here is a technique where again using the square supported by the pawn, locating our bishop on that one and pushing. Here what happens? Black goes bishop d3, bishop c6, bishop c4, bishop b5, bishop d5, a5, and with the same technique we are advancing our pawn till the last square, again using the important supported square. Let's now go ahead and see what happens if there are the knights on the board. For all of the previous examples, we use the specific conditions that kings are out of the game. Here we will have a little adjustment. The reason is following. Whenever we try to advance our pawn, opponent will be able to block it, since knight cannot use the supported square and remove opponent's piece. We can see this kind of picture. Knight d5, a5, knight c7, white can go knight d3, trying to play knight b4 or knight c5 and pushing a6. But black here can block. We don't have any squares to remove opponent's piece. But what is the downside for the knight? It's a short-ranged piece. And whenever it's blocking this pawn, it is absolutely far away from this game. White can play it two ideas. We can try to activate our king and try to attack opponent pawns on the king side. But it's even more logical now to take our king closer to opponent's knight. If black king will try to join the game as well, going to some c7 or d7 squares, already with our knight, we will be able to capture all of their pawns on the king side. For this reason, we can see that pawns in the knight endgames are also very important. But now we are going to see passed pawn conditions in the rook endgame. Now we have a situation when opponent rook is very active on a2, behind our pawn it's blocking the advancement. Again, conditions of kings out of the game applies to this example. And what to do? How to push this pawn? When rook is protecting pawn from the 4th rank, there are no any options to advance. Black rook attacks this and as well blocks the advancement squares. Let's imagine that instead of 4th rank, our rook is located in front of the pawn. It can be an a8 square. Okay, this time white can advance the pawn, pushing a5, pushing a6, and pushing a7. But what's next? The issue is that Rook again is standing behind of this pawn and is all the time blocking it. White cannot promote since there is a rook in front of the pawn. As well, removing the rook to any square will lose the passed pawn on a7. As you can see in the Rook's Endgame, this was the only condition when rook and pawn itself were not so strong. Of course, I don't want to say if you have passed pawn in Rook's Endgame, it's a bad asset. Not at all. In any kind of endgame, passed pawns are very important. Just, I tried to highlight for you the information that it's difficult to get a lot of value when you're advancing your passed pawn with support of your own rook, and opponent has a rook as defender as well. Now, let's go ahead and you will get your homework position. Here is an endgame situation when white has a passed pawn on the a file. Black just played queen b7 and they want to trade off the queens on the long diagonal. Whenever it happens, we will get to the rook's endgame with passed pawn. We have already discussed it, so my question is the following. Are we satisfied with this outcome, or we have better options in this position for white? You can share your thoughts and ideas in the comments section below. Gabuzyan was here with you. Thank you for your subscriptions, likes, and sharing this video with your friends. We appreciate it a lot. I will see you next time during our next daily lessons.